Hey people, it's me, 3 here, back for another video, and today we're doing another Apex Legends video. And this time we're doing a guide and overview of the new weapon that has just came to the game, a 30-30 repeater lever action rifle. So here it is. It's a pretty cool gun. So in this video, I'm going to go over some of the stats of the weapon, and then I'll go over situations when using this weapon and some overall tips using this weapon. Then I'll go over how to get used to this weapon more and how to kind of get better with it. Then I'll go over some recommended sights for the weapon, and then I will go into recommended loadouts for using the weapon. Okay, so now let's get into it. So 30-30 repeater lever action rifle. Let's first look at the damage outputs of the weapon. So when it's not charged and it's just doing its typical shots or whatever, the body damage is 42 and typical headshots are 74. When this thing is charged up in ADS, body shots count for 57 and headshots count for 100. So it's really strong when it comes to damage. The default mag is 6 bullets. Level 1 mag increases it to 8. Blue mag increases it to 10, and purple and gold mag increase it to 12. The weapon has pretty decent fire rate. It's kind of quick, but it's not too quick. It is a semi-auto weapon, so it does have a decent fire rate, and it can do some good damage. It's really good at distance. So, now that we kind of went over some stats of the weapon, I guess, let's try to go into when to use this weapon, or situations with this weapon, and just some overall tips for the weapon. So, the 30-30 rifle actually has a pretty decent fire. So when in close quarters with this weapon, you can pretty much hip fire, and usually crouching helps with hip firing weapons that usually aren't really close range or typical hip fire weapons. But this actually, you can actually kind of center strafe and do a decent job of hip fire. Well, that kind of proves otherwise, but it still has a pretty decent hip fire, and it can be good off drop. You just need to make sure that you are kind of get the crosshair of the targets and whatever. If your target is moving around in your close quarters, then you should definitely hip fire, especially if they're just trying to move around. But either way, you could potentially be screwed. I don't really know. So now let's kind of get into when it comes to mid and long range, which I think is this weapon in its most effective spot. Oh, yeah, I'm bad. So yeah, the 30-30 repeater is more of a mid to long range weapon than it is close range. Like I said, it can be used at close range, but it's what I more recommend. Hip fire for it, but you can ADS at close range, so it's just make it a little harder with moving targets. So yeah, I recommend using the 30-30 in mid to long ranges, and that's kind of why I think it would be. It's really good, or will be a really good weapon in ranked, because in ranked are trying to stay at more of a distance, and there's people camping and attacking from distance with snipers. So I really think it fits into the ranked meta in that sense. And yeah, it also does a lot of good damage, so it will definitely be utilized in ranked a lot. So when it comes to getting engagements at mid to long range with this weapon, you would probably need to be behind cover or try to find cover using it. And I'll go over this in just a little bit. So the reload time of the 30-30 is kind of slow because it kind of operates in the massive instance. You're putting a bunch of bullets in, and extending the mag actually makes the reload time a little bit slower, or makes it slower. So getting caught out in the open and reloading is not really in a spot you'd want to be in. So that's why I suggest you try to use this weapon in a spot where you can at least get behind cover quickly. Now, of course, when you're in, just enter the magazine a little bit real quick. Of course, you can still move at a decent speed when you're reloading, but if you're like somewhere like a little more farther away from cover and you're fighting an enemy, and they try to get the upper hand, you might be screwed. Because, especially if you like empty the entire magazine and you're trying to reload it. So that's why you should try to look for cover if you have this weapon. And play it a little more safe with this weapon as well. So, I'm kind of going back into this situation. This is more as if you like have like another weapon that you've already used up. So, I would actually, I would recommend the 30-30 being the first weapon, or being the one your primary, and something else being your secondary. The reason why is because if you run out of ammo with this thing, and you miss all your shots or whatever, then you could potentially be screwed with its reload time. So you need to bring out a secondary weapon to kind of just finish off the job that you started. Now this is more speaking as if you like didn't have a gold mag. But if you're firing like another weapon first and not the 30-30, and you don't have a gold mag, so just pretend I don't have a gold mag, you would be at a disadvantage, because especially if you're out in the open and you don't really have much cover to fire, so you would be at a disadvantage. Now, how you can be at an advantage is if you're using a legend with a mobility tactical, such as, well, if you have a tactical that can help you get out of any sticky situations, such as if you have Wraith. Wraith with their phase can get out of situations very quick like that. So can Pathfinder with his grapple, Octane with his stem, Lobo with their bracelet, and Horizon with her gravity lifts. Those legends can easily get out of those situations, so you should probably make sure what legend you are before trying to get into aggressive engagements using the 30-30. Because if you don't have an escape ability, then you could potentially be screwed or at a disadvantage. So now kind of going into some other tips for this weapon is if you're at your mid to long distance, which is what I recommend, I suggest waiting for the weapon to charge off so you can get some good damage outputs with this thing. I don't recommend spam firing the weapon, because you tend to miss your shots. Well, I don't recommend spam firing the weapon because it's a really precise, accurate weapon, so you could potentially miss a lot with this thing. Which is why I don't recommend spam firing it. It's kind of like the wingman in that sense, in my opinion. So try not to spam fire it unless if you know you're good at aiming. In that case, then go for it and shred the enemies. So now let's kind of go into how to get used to this weapon more and how to get better at it. So I don't really have much for this, but some things I recommend are strafing warm-ups. So kind of something like this. The strafe speed is pretty slow, so these warm-ups are pretty easy. And also, I recommend using the iron sights when you're warming up with this weapon, because I guess it kind of helps you build muscle memory. But you can really use any scope when practicing this weapon because it's really precise. So you can use like a 1x or one of the scopes that fit this weapon when warming up if you wanted to. And also, I recommend like doing the warm-ups at a little more of a distance, because in my opinion that really helps, especially if you are using iron sights and not another scope. I feel like it really helps with aim a little more, and it helps a little more just getting better with the weapon in general. So that's why I recommend warming up, but using strafing at a distance and iron sights. I usually alternate scopes when warming up with weapons, so if you wanted to, you could start with the iron sights and then go to like HCOG or whatever you wanted to, or any of your preferred scopes to warm up with. So now let's get into the recommended sights for this weapon. So when it comes to sights and scopes, it's usually personal preference, and it is personal preference. So, but I do have recommended sights for this weapon. So I recommend either 2 times or 3 times for this weapon, because it's a mid to long range weapon, and yeah, that's where it's most effective at. I highly recommend the HCOG Ranger because it really works well with the weapon in my opinion, and the HCOG Ranger is like really underrated. So yeah, I really recommend using this scope for the weapon. But if you're kind of like more of an aggressive player, then I could suggest the Bruiser. The Bruiser is a really good scope, and if you want to play more aggressive with this weapon, you can definitely equip this. You can put a one-time scope on it if you wanted to, but that's not what I recommend because it's more effective at mid to long range. But you can pretty much attach whatever scope you want to it, because again, it's personal preference. You can even rock iron sights if you wanted to. So, yeah. Now let's move on into my recommended loadouts. Now, I'm already running a recommended loadout, and that's 3030 and the R99. So kind of going back into tips and situations of using this weapon, the 3030 I think would be really good for semi-aggressive plays, whatever. So basically kind of what I mean is like you do damage to the enemy at distance, you poke at them, and once you get them low or get one knocked or whatever, you rush in there with like a more aggressive weapon like the R99 and just beat them down. So yeah, and I feel like these 2 weapons will be a really good loadout this season. Because again, 3030 does a lot of damage, and R99 is great for getting there, messing things up. So yeah, that's the first loadout I recommend. So let's kind of start from all the other weapons. I do not recommend using the G7 with the 3030 because both are really similar, and I think you should either choose one or the other, down to your choice. I think the 3030 would be good with the alternator, but alternator isn't meta, so I don't really recommend that loadout, but go for it, I guess. 3030 will definitely work well with the R301. R301 is full auto. Pretty much all the full auto weapons work well with 3030 in my opinion. So we can run R301 3030, but since the Anvil receiver came back with 301 in flatline, people might be starting to use them as more single fire mid to long range weapons. So if you are using the R301 as your aggressive weapon and you're keeping it full auto, then it'll definitely work well with 3030, but it's your choice when it comes to loadouts. P2020 could work with it, but you would need hammer points in order for it to be really good with this weapon. RE45 will work, definitely, but the RE45 isn't one of the strongest weapons to use, so I don't completely recommend using 3030 with it, but you can if you want to, if you like to find quick draw or whatever. So again, with the flatline, similar to the R301, Anvil receiver is back, so people might start using single fire more on it. But if you keep the flatline at full auto, then this loadout will definitely be really good. So now with the Hemlock. Hemlock is a really good gun, and it is used as people's mid to long range weapon. So if you're using the Hemlock as more the aggressive weapon and not the laid back weapon, which I would recommend the 3030. If you have the burst on it and you have 2 1-times on it, then I definitely think it will work well with 3030. But if you're using like it as your mid to long range weapon, not the 3030, then I don't recommend using the loadout. It's either one or the other for this one. It will definitely work well with the Spitfire because Spitfire is full auto, but the Spitfire can be used at range. Again, it's full auto, so if you have like a Bruiser 1-times on it, it's definitely going to work really well with 3030. Wingman 3030 I think would be a really interesting loadout, since they're both really precise weapons and seemingly high skill. I feel like both would make for a really interesting combo. 3030 would be a really fun combo, and I think that'd be a really interesting combo to run in the long run. So when it comes to snipers, I don't think any of the snipers would well with 30-30 because they're long-range weapons and 30-30 is mid to long range. So I would either suggest either 30-30 or any of the snipers, basically. So yeah. Now with the energy weapons, I think all of the energy weapons will work well with the 30-30, as they're all full auto. Volt especially, I think would work well. Volt, Havoc, Devotion, L-Star's underrated. I think they would all work really well with the 30-30 since they all can be used aggressively. So yeah, I do recommend with the 30-30. Now, I do recommend the shotguns with the 30-30, especially the Mastiff and the EVA 8. Mozambique, I will recommend, but it's gotta have hammer points, so it can be a really good combo. And I'm not gonna really go over care packages when it comes to this weapon. Okay guys, so that's all for today's video. So I hope you enjoyed this little guide or overview to the 30-30, and I hope this did help a little bit. I know there wasn't much, but I still thought I could still help, especially how the season started and this weapon just came in. Whenever people are still kind of learning how to use it for now. So yeah. So again, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a like. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you can get notified for whenever I post a video. And be sure to join the Discord server. I'll leave a link in the description and or in a pinned comment. And follow my Twitch at twitch.tv/3x. I will leave that in the description or in a pinned comment as well. And also, before I end off the video, I would just like to say that I will continue to be doing Apex Legends content on this channel. Whatever. So yeah. Last video was really good. We got a whole lot of views, which I really liked. So yeah, I will definitely be continuing to do Apex Legends content. So I just wanted to say that as a little channel update. I will still be trying to do Geometry Dash content. I do have a level series plan that I am planning on finishing, and I don't know when I'm going to finish it though, or if I'll ever finish it, because I have been kind of demotivated to play that game. So yeah, that's all I pretty much want to say for my little channel update, and probably more content will be coming soon, hopefully. So again, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye.